Camera says go. So I was going to kill a little more time before I actually clicked into the video, but the video said to suck it up and do it. So it gave me a countdown and went, so here we are. Been thinking a lot about really just... Okay, my sentiment for this weekend is the same as it was for Mother's Day. I don't give a fuck. I'm ready for it to be over with. Just another day to get roped into feeling bad for bullshit or whatever. I don't know. A day I don't give a shit about, honestly. Good old Father's Day. It snuck up on me. I knew it was coming, but I thought I had another week, so whatever. My mom sent a message last night to me and my brother saying that the Father's Day thing is at our aunt's house at 2 on Sunday. And my brother's like, I already told you I'm not going to be in town. Because he and the kid are driving out to Oklahoma on Sunday, possibly leaving tomorrow. He said yesterday. Might be shifting it a little quicker, but he said he's got a lot to do before they go that way. And they're planning on being gone for 2 weeks. That means 2 weeks I get to handle their dogs, which is fine. It gets a little complicated from the standpoint of, well, I mean, now there's construction at the easiest route to get over there, so that's one thing. Normally what I do is whenever I get up in the morning to feed the dogs and use the bathroom before I go back to bed, I usually go over there as well and potty their dogs, and then go back home, go back to bed for a while, and then I go over there after I'm done getting ready for the day and all that fun stuff. Depending on what time frame that all works out, sometimes I'll walk my dogs first, sometimes after. Either way, be a couple walks with dogs, because I can't walk. Oh my god, I couldn't walk them all together. That would be a hot mess. Mine are getting better about pulling. I've been working with them here lately, and they're immensely better already. They're too. Yeah. They pull a lot, and it's very tiring. And apparently, the person that they had that wanted to buy their house, that they were waiting on their house to sell, the buyer of the other house fell through, so now their buyer situation has fallen through. So there's also the possibility that I'm going to have to go over there and maybe do a little tidying, in case there's like a freaking, somebody wants to do a walkthrough or something, like, you know, to potentially buy it. So for 2 weeks, I get to deal with the dogs, as well as the possibility of getting a call at the last minute because somebody wants to go check the house or go do a walkthrough or whatever, and it's not ideal. It's very much not ideal. So, my brother had said his wife suggested X amount, and I was like, for 2 weeks. And he said, for 2 weeks. And I said, where there's a potential that I'm going to have to drop everything to go over to your house to deal or to get the dogs collected and tidy anything that needs tidied before somebody can do a walkthrough of the place. She's like, yeah, it's like, we're going to count that at the low end. I said, we will have to play it by ear and see what all complications come up over the 2 week span of time before I'll let you know a solid answer. I said, I'm not going to come up with a number based on what could potentially happen. It's like, we'll figure it out. But for 2 weeks, I'm going to have to revisit what they gave me the last time, too. The last time it was for 10 days. The last time I wasn't able to walk their dogs because, like, it was frigid outside. So it was low on that end. This time, it's nice and warm. So it's going to depend on rain. But that's going to be an added component because, I have no problem walking their dogs. I have no problem with extra walks in the day. But if we're talking also getting paid to do stuff, it's like, there's just a whole lot right there. A whole lot of factors I'm going to have to weigh on this one because that's exhausting. It's like just thinking about it feels exhausting. But I know, of course, that if I lock myself into this mindset of everything is already exhausting, then it's going to be really exhausting, and I really don't want to set myself up to be more tired than I have been. But, the whole manifesting thing. It does work. Need to manifest some more energy. So, yesterday I had this brilliant idea that I wanted to go to the zoo today. And I was really looking forward to it. And it's like, okay, so I want to get up early enough so I can get there pretty early and not have to deal with the traffic. I wanted to park in the zoo parking lot, like not the backup parking lot and have to ride the bus over, which would have been okay, but I really just didn't want to do that. When I went to leave, it would be nice to just leave, right? I was on their website last night looking at hours and stuff, and I saw this thing talking about Zubilation, and it did not register that was today. So I got all the way over to the zoo this morning, which it ended up being about 10:15 when I got there. Zoo opens at 9 on a regular day. Zoo was closed. It's like, well, shit. So I just did not register what day Zubilation actually was taking place of. And I cannot say that word without thinking of the great Whobilation or whatever, with all the Who's down in Whoville. So, yeah, every single time I've gone to say that today, it's like, it's just weird. But yeah. So it ended up working out because about the time I turned around to pull back out of the zoo entrance, it started raining really hard, and it was a solid downpour for a while. As I had my my GPS app set to take me home, and then like one of the roads that popped up, it said we're near Hannah Avenue or something. It's like, wait a second. It's like, that is where that cool Ponds place is, which is where I got the little cool blue onyx heart before Mother's Day. And they had some koi fish back then. I should have gotten one. I wanted one, but I didn't get it at the time. But then I was like, okay, so I'm close, so maybe I'll go see if they have any more. They did not. But there was another of the blue onyx hearts that got my attention. It had like this big chunk of like red in it. It's like, that's kind of interesting. And so it gave me an excuse to to have gone over there, I guess. But I started talking to the girl at the cash register, and I said, so my plan was to go to the zoo, but then they're apparently closed for this other thing. I said, so then I realized I was relatively close to the shop, so I decided to come here instead for a koi fish, and then there's none left. And she said, yeah, those went pretty quick. But then since I was talking about things that I had been going to do, she started offering up some suggestions. She's like, well, Garfield Park Conservatory is not too far. I was like, okay, well, why not, right? What do I have to lose? And she said it cost a couple bucks to get in, but no big deal. Um, Especially since today was payday, which it went really quick. So I ended up, I had the $4. It ended up being $4 on the thing that I went to get over there. So there was nobody at the desk when I went in. I was like, do I just put this in the donation thing, or is it like a separate account that it's supposed to go into? Nobody was there, and there was nobody like close that looked like they knew what they were talking about or anything. I mean, it looked like 2 people were there visiting us, the extent of what I saw. So I just stuck the money in the donation thing and went on in, and ended up killing about an hour there. It was really nice. Nice. I like being around plants, and they had water features and all that fun stuff. So obviously I'm into the water. And so the unfortunate part, a lot of the benches that they had were covered in water. And the best I could tell was that I didn't see any it could have been water for watering the plants, but I didn't see anything like that, so I'm not entirely sure it wasn't somewhat leaking from outside, but all the benches were completely covered in water. I found one that was in front of this waterfall area. It had a bunch of koi fish, actual koi fish, not just the pretty crystal ones. In front of it, and there was enough of a dry spot. I'm pretty sure I had one cheek that was on the dry section and the other cheek was in the wet section, but it wasn't standing water on it, so it's yeah, I'm gonna make it work. I spent some time sitting there and writing, and it was kind of nice and peaceful. And then there was a group of 3 that came in and were talking kind of loud, talking over things, and they were they were fine. But they they went up to check out the koi fish and everything. It's I feel kind of like I'm in the way. But I was sitting there writing, so they just did their thing and I did my thing, and it was fine. But then the next group that came through, it's okay, so now I feel like I go ahead and just wrap it up and go to another section. Then I ended up on this other area. There was another bench that was mostly dry. And it was right in front of these orchid plants. And the first time I had passed through there, I read a thing that was talking about the vanilla scents of it, the particular orchids that they had right there, but I didn't smell it. But then when I sat down on the bench, it's ooh. Then I was smelling it pretty strongly, and it's this is kind of nice right here. And then there was a group with a couple little kids that came through. It's I just feel like I'm in the way all over the place. For the most part, it wasn't too bad. It was actually a nice, peaceful thing to do that was kind of along the lines of what I wanted to do. I guess the big thing was just taking myself out and enjoying things by myself, because that's, good thing I enjoy my own company most of the time. I can just get lost in my head well enough. It was kind of funny on the way over to the zoo. The only number that really popped out at me was I looked straight at this one car in the next line over as I was pulling up to a stop. I had my 819 on it again, and then didn't see any more until I saw a couple, not that one, just a couple synchronicities that seemed to suggest that going to the pond place was a good choice. And then it's then they kept increasing. So it's okay, so apparently this is the thing I'm supposed to do, because I got behind a car that had 444, then I see it an 888 and a 777 places. The The thing in the car hit 666. Which, there again, is not actually a bad number, in spite of what those good old Christians want you to believe. So yeah, I just immediately look up at this thing in the car, and it's got 625, and the date was 625. So, I guess we're getting close for an oil change, but I don't think we're there yet. It's just kind of funny that I'm talking synchronicities, and then there's one. So, on the way back home, there were more. Like 9/25 is my dad's death date. That was one that popped up a few places, with various other things. But it just seemed like it was suggesting that that was the kind of thing I need to do more often. And it's kind of funny because I watched this tarot reading yesterday, Kino Tarot, where she was talking about, this is one of those your person type readings and how you're going to meet them. And she was talking about, it seems like some kind of like a day where you end up doing something that wasn't what you were going to do, but it just kind of ended up, kind of getting bumped along. So you end up being at the same space at the same time. And then I've noticed that that seems like a common theme in general for like when I have things that I plan. It's like I'll go out and maybe do part of what I was planning on doing, and then kind of it just seems like just go with the flow, and okay, that fell through, or maybe it didn't last as long as I thought it would, and then end up meandering on another path and just go with the flow and figure out where it takes me, right? So it's like that seems to be the consistent sort of narrative, I guess, which is fine. But it's kind of made me think that maybe like there is truth to that, and it's like the universe is getting me used to this being a habit, that I go out with. See, because I also had, I think it was the Pattern app popped up a message that said something about going on adventures. I was like, well, that was my plan today anyway, because I don't normally go to the zoo by myself, and then that I was going to go to the zoo by myself. And I did go to the zoo by myself, but then it ended up being closed because I didn't register that date thing. And today was the day that it was closed for the Zubilation thing. So it's like, it's still, it was something I wouldn't have otherwise done. Like, I've been threatening to do that for at least 3 months, if not a year and 3 months, because I know when I first started talking about going to the zoo by myself, it was in April, but I don't know if that was this year or last year. I just know I was talking about doing it a bunch, and then I never did it, and then today it was just kind of like, well, this membership's going to expire at the end of the month, and if I don't do it before it expires, then I'm not going to do it, so I wanted to try to do it. But then I just got shuffled along to this other thing, which was fine. Actually, it was kind of a nice day. And then by the time I got home, I was just so freaking tired. And then I ended up taking a nap for a while. Yeah. Then there's this, my mom was at home when I got back, and I thought she was gone when I left. And she hadn't taken her car, so I figured, okay, well, I'll take that car, since it was the one my brother was borrowing, and, it just came back yesterday because he got the rental car to go to Oklahoma. So it's like, all right, well, this is here, she's not, so I'll just do this. this morning's aggravation was, okay, I mentioned a lot that my dad's always pissy about, people not cooperating on catering to his bullshit and all that stuff. So when something isn't going well for him or whatever, he's going to let everybody know about it, right? So this morning I was in my bathroom trying to get ready. The other side of the wall is their bathroom. And he's moaning up a storm, pounding on the wall. And I walked out at one point, before my mom disappeared. And was like, what the hell is going on? It's like, God, he's moaning worse than normal. And she said something about being constipated or something. It's like, oh great. So that's how we solve things, is just bang on the wall and moan even louder than you normally do. It's like, ugh. So what I did, since I was still getting ready, was, okay, so I talked about that Rotting Christ song a lot, that Apage Satana. And I put it on and turned it up and had it right against that wall. So I couldn't hear him. I don't know if he was still moaning up a storm in there or whatnot after I started it, or if he paused for a while, because it's therefore when he knew I was in there, he was still pounding on the wall and all that stuff. And I had a different music playing, and it was on the other side of the bathroom, but then he wouldn't shut up. So I got that going really loud and put it up against the wall, finished getting ready, and then finally left, right? And Mom was nowhere to be found, so I thought she had left. I don't know if she did or not. When I got home, she was in her pajamas again, which she could have put them back on. She might have just gone to lay down. I don't know. So I can't imagine her really willingly going in there when she already knows he's moaning and bitching up a storm to lay in the same space where he's doing that at. But whatever. So then, I get back, she's at the table, and I don't know, she got kind of an attitude about, used all the gas, didn't you? It's didn't even use a quarter, thank you. It's what the hell? It's actually, her trips to the nursing home, to and from the nursing home yesterday, because she went over there, and then they brought my grandma back home for a little bit, and then had to take her back to the nursing home because the nursing home doesn't want her there her home alone by herself. Well, not alone by herself. Yeah, obviously, same thing. But yeah, she's not supposed to stay there overnight, right? So legit concern, very valid. And I briefly got stuck hanging out with them. Okay, so yesterday my brother had an appointment and he dropped Gracie off. And the same time he dropped Gracie off, my aunt was driving her car. My grandma was in the front seat. My mom was in the back seat. And they asked Gracie if she wanted to go to Frosty Boy to get ice cream. And she was all about it. And then she sits in the middle, and my dad goes along. It's that is very tight space, and I am very glad I'm not in that car. But since I was out there for that whole thing, my aunt asked me if I wanted anything from Frosty Boy, because otherwise I'm confident my mom would have just blown that off, because she's very not okay with the fact that I'm not doing what my fair share per what I was raised with, right? So there again, the family is very very conditioned about the love, right? It's very conditioned love, which is not actually love at all. And I did not even have, I was young when I figured that out. It was everything they said, it's yeah, that's not love. That's not love. And it was very much, you have to do this to earn the love or whatever. And if you're not doing your part, then, well, obviously that gets cut off a bit. My aunt is the most generous one in that group. So, or at least the group that was on, or that went that way. Okay, so my aunt drove my grandma back. No, I don't. At some point, my mom had her in the car too. So I don't even remember. I think she probably had another errand to go on or something, but yeah, I don't know. Anyway, because when I first looked at my mom's car and I thought I saw my mom in the passenger seat, but it's like, no, that wouldn't make sense because there's no way she'd let my dad drive. And then I, went to a different window and realized it was my grandma sitting in that seat. So it's like, But then the ice cream trip was definitely in the other car, so I don't know. I don't know at what point they switched out. But yeah, like my mom's car definitely went twice somewhere. But yeah, she was trying to accuse me of having used all the gas. It's like, nope, that wasn't me. It's like, you already had it way down from where it was. I made my little short trip, and it was, at least that one's cheaper gas than the other one, so, but yeah. And then earlier, I was, pulling leftovers out of the fridge, and my dad said something about where my mom was, and I said, I don't know, the edge is gone. And he said, huh? I had to repeat myself at least 3 times, right? So each time, since he can't hear me, I get louder saying it, right? Which makes sense, if he's not hearing it, that you would raise your voice a little bit and say it again. When he finally heard it, he started acting like I was just being rude and, out of line because I was yelling or whatever. It's like, I wasn't yelling. It's like, you didn't get it any of the other times that I said it. So naturally I'm going to get louder, but then apparently he's all like sensitive because I just don't ever have a kind thing to say to him, probably. And no, I really don't anymore. Going back to that, he's the one that has, yeah. That was, my brother and I had this conversation yesterday. It's like, I said he is extremely misogynistic, and my brother said, I feel like that's worse now than as he, like, spends all this time consuming, like, the garbage, Christian claiming bullshit, political stuff. And he's like way more hateful. It's like, no, I said, he's always been hateful. I said, we were the buffers. I said, the only reason we perceived them differently was because that was what we were putting out there, and they were just sucking it out of us and enjoying the fact that they didn't have to just face their misery. Now that we've set boundaries and they don't have access to our energy like they used to, they're having to confront the fact that they're miserable people and don't have anything good to put out there. Right? So I said, yeah, so like whatever he's doing, it's like he's always done it to some degree. It's always been there. It's not a new thing. And there again, going back to that point about when, like on my wedding day, like even leading up to it, it was like I picked the worst possible option so that it would be easy for my dad or my brother to say, not that one. And neither one of them did it. So because they didn't say it, I felt stuck. My mom was saying it, but my mom was always trying to live vicariously through me, so that didn't really matter. Her opinion was nothing. But for some reason, it's like, no, I need either them to say it. Well, that goes back to that point on the whole, the religious bullshit. And the idea that you have to have this Jesus figure outside of yourself to save you, to do anything worthwhile because you're just a shitty human and all this stuff. It's like, but the point of Jesus' life was not to be worshipped. It was to show you that it is possible. You can do this healing work. You can figure out who you are and be that in this space. But because we come down here and we feel the separation of not being a part of the whole thing, and we forget who we are, which is hell, because we don't remember who we are or what we're here to do, and then we're conditioned to have these beliefs that we need, we're so worthless that we need somebody outside of us to save us. It's like the system's set up specifically to keep us from stepping into our power, right? And there again, we are all divine beings that as a whole make up this, this greater thing, right? So we're all aspects of the divine, and we're here to experience this life, our little reference point, to give that information back to the whole of us, what happens under these conditions and, all that kind of stuff. But it's ultimately to bring us back to the awareness that we are all connected. But the system doesn't want us to believe that we're all connected because if we start stepping into our power, the system loses out, right? So, yeah. Yeah, I'm still kind of tired today. I don't feel like I have a whole lot to continue elaborating on that part, but I feel like that's a pretty relevant piece. Okay, but how did I get there? Oh, my conversation with my brother. Yeah, so it's like when we were younger and taught not to have boundaries, it was literally one of the things that has come up continually the past several months has been since I walk at the cemetery all the time, the idea of let the dead bury the dead. It's like everybody gets hung up in this. Okay, like my family. This is such a traumatic thing that my grandfather died. It's like he was never going to live forever. That was never the point. That's not what we come here to do. But we come here to learn things and to experience this existence. But they fell into the trap of enabling his toxicity, the bad behavior, so it could extend his life far beyond what it should have. This other detail. Okay, so I said the other day that I told my mom that as far as I was concerned, my grandfather outlived his usefulness by 33 years. Apparently, she's still pissed about it. She has not said a single thing to me about it. She talks trash about me to my brother, which we always knew is what she does, right? That's why it's never been safe to do anything and to have your own, like my damn bear picture, right? The thing that made me realize that I always set myself up to go into self-sabotage mode, because that was like my anything decent that I tried to do, my parents would like find a way to piss all over it, right? And that's literally life with my parents. And if you want that, yeah, anyway. So, my brother and I kind of had a little talk about that. It's like, that's part of why we haven't been able to do more. It's like, because we knew whatever we would do, they were just going to take it and talk trash about us behind our backs to our grandparents, right? Because for some reason, they thrive in sucking the life out of us, right? So we're not allowed to have our own lives. We're not supposed to do anything worthwhile, because they benefit in ruining it for us, bringing us down or knocking us down a peg, or whatever you want to call it. Like, because that's the the shitty way the system's set up. Because that back to the dead burying the dead. They're so set in the idea that it's this or nothing that they don't even bother to live. So it's literally, my grandfather spent a good 33 years of my life making everything about his death, right? It's like my 8th birthday, he moved, I think that was around the time they moved back up here from Oklahoma after my great-grandfather passed away. So my great-grandfather died in March when I was 7, and then I turned 8 in July, right? So every birthday, holiday, whatever, my grandfather used that as the opportunity to talk about his death, right? So it didn't matter that anybody else had a birthday, little kids are having a birthday. It was an opportunity to talk about that old man's death. And somehow my mom was apparently too damn oblivious to realize that was literally what was going on. It was the hijacking of any birthday or holiday. And it became more of a just in general, whatever opportunity he had to hijack something, he absolutely would, and make it about his death. So, yeah, so makes perfect sense to me to say that he outlived his usefulness, because he didn't live. He spent his whole life dying and obsessing over when he was going to die. Like, that was just the worst thing in the world that was going to happen, and we should all bend over backwards to cater to his bullshit to make him live a little longer, enabling the bad behavior. And my mom's all about it, right? And even since he's been gone, she still does it with my my grandma and my dad. Less so, perhaps, more strongly skewed toward resenting them, but also still pouring out everything to keep them around a little longer. And I'm just like, fuck it, you haven't done anything worthwhile. You don't actually give a shit about doing anything or creating anything. You just want to, like, exist in your misery, and everybody's supposed to cater to you. Like my dad. Just walking around, feeling sorry for himself all the fucking time. All this bullshit, because he's so miserable at existing. That's a you problem, that's not a me problem. And I spent all my life trying to bend over backwards to help people that didn't want help. And it's like, now I don't give a shit about helping those people. It's like, if you are not interested in doing anything worthwhile to help yourself, I'm not going to give you my energy. Because it's obviously a waste of time, right? So all it does is suck the life out of me to prolong your existence, and your existence is miserable, so why the fuck would I want to do that? I don't. And I feel like I don't know. On the one hand, it's like I don't really want to be around my family on Sunday. On the other hand, I don't dislike most of my family. There are just certain ones of them that I don't want anything to do with, right? And I'm not sure I'm going to go. I'll be honest, I'm not. Because what I do know is at some point it's going to be, yes, there will be food, but at some point we're going to have to mourn the old shithead's death again, because anytime you're in the group, that's what you're supposed to do, is bring it back around to talking about the good times with Daddy and how much we missed him and all this bullshit. Even though, even in the early years, my brother was talking about remembering how much my mom talked about how bad he was growing up. But it's like, she would talk about, okay, her name was Dammit Donita. And that was what my grandfather called her, right? And they would talk about, it was a big deal. He wouldn't spank them because he felt like a bully hitting little girls. So it was my grandmother's job to do that. But he would do one of these on the top of their head if they did or said something stupid. It's like, you were a bully. It's like, at the end of the day, that's all that asshole was good for. He was a bully. So, and my dad, he's a bully. It's like, I'm sick of that. So get together with all these people to celebrate fathers, that when my experience of those two father figures was shit, I'm not feeling like I really want to do that. Although, if I don't know that I'm gonna go. I don't know that I'm gonna get my dad anything. If I do, it's usually a gift card, and right now I don't have the money for that, so I talked the other day about how so far I always have the money that I need to cover the things that I've done, right? I had enough until I did a couple things today and shortchanged myself, but I forgot to put it was one of those PayPal pay in 4 things. I didn't put it in my calendar, so I overlooked that one. And so now I have to get $11 back in my bank account before I can cover that one. But it said it would try to take it out again in a couple days. So it'll be fine. It's going to work out somehow or another. But it's like, fucked myself up on that one. And it wasn't the conservatory part. Like, that part was fine. But it's like, the stop at McDonald's for breakfast. That was unnecessary. Or the little blue heart. I didn't really need that. Could have just gone in there and had the conversation. That would have been enough to go to the conservatory. But, oh well. I felt like since I was there. Yeah. Anyway, that was $3 or whatever. But yeah, it's like just messed myself up just enough, so I'll figure it out. But it's like, as far as I'm concerned, I really don't feel there's anything to celebrate on the father end of things, because I finally realized that my dad has just always been one of those key points of just sucking the life out of me, right? Like, literally, the good things that I've had in my life, he's been right there with my mom to piss all over him. And to add in the literal element on that, if, where he just wants to go into my space and, be nasty and all that crap. Because, going back to that when he was told he could no longer use my bathroom because he was peeing on the floor and just left it behind for me to have to step in the middle of the night or whatever. That pissed me off real bad. I kind of feel like part of the hold up on me getting out of there, as much as anything, is speaking more truth in the connection, because right now I basically have an aversion to being around them. The other day when they tried to hit me up with the puppy situation, and did I think Taz would do better with a puppy or a slightly older puppy, like around a year old? And I said, no, I don't want to have to take care of a puppy. And that goes right back to the bullshit with my ex, and he found 2 husky puppies before I left Alabama that last time. It's like the week I think they were there about a week. He claims he found them in the middle of the road and of the neighborhood and brought them home. I don't know if that was accurate or not, because I know there was a problem with people dumping off puppies that I'd heard about. But since it was out of his mouth, it's like, I don't know that he didn't spend money on them. I fully expect that I fully believe that he got them and brought them home as a means of, now you have to take care of this, now you can't go anywhere. And I think that's what this situation is. Because if I have to have something else to take care of, and I can't leave because I feel obligated to take care of this puppy that I'm going to feel bad for if it shows up in this situation, it's like, you shitheads don't need a puppy. It's like, you're not going to take care of it. You can't even take care of yourselves. It's like, you don't even want to take care of yourselves. Why do you think a puppy is going to be any better? And it's literally because I would have to take care of it. Then I would be stuck, and I would have to give them more of my time and energy. So I think that's kind of the snag there. Now, if I do go on Sunday, that would potentially allow for me to be to have more of them there as witnesses if something comes up and I have to speak up on something. And then they could have the actual story rather than just whatever my mom manipulated it into being and, said from however she thought she could skew it to make me look bad. Because that's what she does. Yes, that's what the family does. Going back to that that piece that I mentioned a little bit ago with my brother saying that she still trash talks me because I told her my grandfather outlived his usefulness by 33 years. And I don't regret it. And I absolutely believe it. So then, do I put myself in this situation where, I could piss all over their day. They like pissing all over everything else, so, maybe that's a way to go. Then maybe they'd stop trying to get me to do things. I don't know. I'm just trying to navigate putting things together so I can set myself up to get out of here in a more timely fashion. I think right now the big thing is continuing to move my stuff out. I took a load the other day. I got a big box out of the living room and some smaller boxes out of my office. And the biggest thing with the office is more books. So those are going in like relatively small boxes because I know I'm not going to want to carry a huge ass box of books, because that also sets up for the box to break, but it's like also what boxes do we have available for this whole situation? Like, we had one in the garage that was really, it was kind of big. And I was like, I could put my puzzles in that. So I did. I put all my puzzles up. And then I still had a little bit of space. So there was a shoebox out in the garage. So I grabbed that and I put there's like a couple planners and I have this, it's a Jack Skellington, what are they called? Pops? The things with the big heads and the little bodies. I got a Jack Skellington one, and it's still in the box, and I put it in the middle of the shoebox to keep the planters apart so they don't bump into each other and break. And then I threw some other odds and ends in the top of it that I still had room for. It's like, all right, so it's a heavy box now because it's got a lot of puzzles in it. It's got 25 puzzles, maybe. So I don't know, there's a bunch of puzzles. But it was actually kind of perfect for that box. It's kind of hard to maneuver down the hallway, but at least got it out of that space. So I think that's tonight's agenda. I'm going to go put another movie on here in a little bit. Oh, okay. I got distracted with stuff on my phone again. Of course, watch my video real quick, get it uploaded. Because that's the biggest thing. It's like the time it takes to load it on my phone or from my phone to my computer is a good chunk of the watching time. And then, putting it to load onto YouTube takes a little bit longer too. So, by the time I'm done watching it, then all that stuff's about done, and then it's good to go. But yeah, I think I need to probably spend some time packing more stuff, because that's kind of my big focus right now. Clearing it out of my immediate space, setting it aside somewhere else, and then, having the space to let my thoughts wander a little bit more and figure out more the pieces that I need to utilize to get up out of there. It's coming together. Yeah. Just kind of ready for everything to be done here. That's the big thing. I'm ready to be done here. So yeah, I think I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up, and then start to do shorter ones now. Go ahead and wrap it up, and then go home and get it loaded or working on that, and then start packing some shit. So I could definitely watch a movie and pack some shit tonight, and then take it to the storage unit tomorrow. So I know skating is on my agenda for Sunday, at least for Sunday. I think tomorrow's supposed to rain, kind of like today. Although, this parking lot is dry enough I could skate if I wanted to. I don't want to, because I did yesterday for 7 miles and the day before, and it kind of kicked my butt. So, it's I think I need a day off from that. Even though for the next 2 weeks it's not going to be as easy as it is right now. I'll figure that out. I'll figure out whatever time my brother's leaving tomorrow too. Although they could still postpone it until Sunday. It's hard to say. But as always, I appreciate you. Until the next time. See ya.